thank you all for coming. We wanted to welcome Doug Currier back to his hometown library to introduce his book, Conversations with Death. So thank you for suggesting it, Doug. Doug Currier holds an MFA in poetry from the University of Pittsburgh and writes poetry in English and Spanish. He's published in several journals and is the author of 4 collections of poetry in Spanish and 2 in English, and lives with his wife in Winooski, Vermont, and Corrientes, Argentina. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Devin, for setting this up. Yeah. And like I said, I have this whole thing I've written out, so I'll start with that. Then we'll go to the handwritten notes, which I will fumble over, I'm sure. Anyway, so I normally begin these things by speaking about my process, okay, which can be old. But I'll explain just quickly. I'm exophonic, okay? It's not as painful as it sounds. It just means that I write in English and Spanish. As you know, I'm sure, nouns in Spanish have gender. Times of day, inanimate objects, ideas, weather. So often I think of things as having gender in English, okay, which is the first step on the dangerous road to personification and anthropomorphism, right? Making things into people. No? Death is female in Spanish, la muerte, as are the words for night, dark, and age. Time is masculine, as are day, sun, and love. You keep that in mind. Some of this will make better sense than it might otherwise. I dedicated the 3rd book in English to my parents, Ken and Jane Currier, who taught in the schools here and lived in the town of Randolph and Randolph Center, where they are buried at the Veterans Cemetery most of their lives, and now all of their deaths, I would imagine. Seeing as we're here in Randolph, I'll read you the preface, something no one ever reads. I wouldn't do that normally, but some of you may have known them. Anyway, one finds solace in such strange places, but it's not as if there is ever enough of it. My parents weren't people to talk about death, much less talk to her. Waiting to the very end of their lives to deal with her, if deal with her they did, they were, it seemed to me, unwilling victims of age. Operations, replacements, medicines prescribed and not, orthopedic technology, beds and chairs, motors and mechanicals, socks and grippers, Velcro and zippers, elastic their friend. Picking up the slack for what they, surprisingly to no one but themselves, could no longer do. Both teachers, at the end they were students looking for an extension on the assignment that is life. In fairness, they completed a lot of it, but for a suitable ending, which begs definition. Their example, and that of a few others, is all I have to work with. Like any rebellious child, I would do the opposite and worry death until she gives up her secret menace, her fearsome aspect, her mystery. I would befriend her. I don't believe a book of poems, 3 books of poems, can or should claim to be therapeutic for anyone save, perhaps, the poet. I don't have that sort of hubris. I would like to say that these poems, however, have given me some solace. And that's the preface. And that, normally people don't read those, right? Epilogues. I've written epilogues. Really? You wrote an epilogue? Where was it? The back of the book. This first poem. Perhaps grief begins with the new year. I told you about this one, right? I'm always taken with the list of those past within the confines of 12 months, right? On TV, they go through those, the only time they do it. There's also that relationship between loss and grief, both feminine. This is entitled On Balance. Bodies pile up at the door. All that dead weight and sorrow leave little room to slip from one year to the next in one tortured night artificially lit by explosions. It's all very well to remember those who've left us to our own devices over the 12, But my losses accumulate in a flood from other years, other geographies, other ages. Little difference when exactly each passed. The weight of all together make breathing labored, heartbeats somewhat precarious. On balance, grief is heavier than love. The two together still heavier, meld to loss, a personal list for the year. Not famous, not counted among luminous luminaries. I will miss you, Jorge, Roberto, Marshall. We think of our dead, I think of my dead. There are other people who've died, but not my dead. Another not so subtle theme of the collection is aging. What we call in Spanish, no, la puta vejez, age, that bitch. It's also feminine. I'm doing just that fairly quickly, and more quickly every day, I'm afraid. This one's entitled Aging Out. It has an epigraph from Louise Glick, her poem, A Slip of Paper. To get born, your body makes a pact with death. And from that moment, all it tries to do is cheat. So, there are battle scars, marks gotten in the flight and struggle, skin shed from being too close to life and its living. If the pact with death included aging out, it was a bad deal. And the body is right to resent its losses and additions. These marks, this bruised fruit, the battered baggage bodies become with too much time. Even with care that comes too late, they only last so long. And not without payment in pain and dignity. I've chased youth to fatigue, held out, sure, call it cheating, to trade comfort for a few more wakings, a few random thoughts, a few acts of kindness and revenge. Oh, yeah, the idea. I can't read my own writing. This deals with another thing over which I have no control, but I like to pretend I do. I have an advance directive, okay, and everyone should have one, I think. We'll get more into that later. In place, after what they paid to keep, after what my insurance company paid to keep me alive, I can't have a DNR. They would freak out, right? All that gives me the impression that someone might listen to me after I'm dead. There's always that possibility, right? This is called arbitrary. There'll be no arbitrary bumbling or mumbling when I die. No armchair quarterbacking, no 20/20 hindsight, no alternative diagnosis, no insertions, no extractions, no second or third opinions. Just follow the damn directions. Even the frightened and sad can do that much. Listen to the doctors, but then turn off, unplug, as I've indicated. Death herself is a miracle. Don't look for any others. If you have to wonder if I'll recover to what I was, I'm already gone. Don't fiddle with the obituary I'm leaving. Don't fuck with the eulogy. You all suck at ad-libbing, so just stick to the script. Follow the damn directions. Aimed at my children, right? I don't know what they think of that, but yeah. Then, of course, there's death, which is why we're here. We're here because I write about death, primarily. I find Americans generally hate talking about death or imagining their own, right? We don't like that. I went to my first death cafe last Saturday. Refreshing to be among folks who want to talk about death. It wasn't just a bunch of us stiffs there. And that joke I owe to my wife. This is entitled Death Will Come. I have a bad habit of using epigraphs from other people, which I like, but they're in different languages, and I put them in the language they're in, which I won't inflict you with today because this is in Italian, and my Italian pronunciation sucks. but it is cessare pavese vera la morte e avra I tui occhi. Death will come and have your eyes. She's the one you met when your dog died 60 years ago. The one you've been waiting for. The one in grade school, in the grade school photo you lost. The one at your high school sock hop. The last high school sock hop. The one so elusive as to be forbidden you in the back seat of your father's car. An old remorse, an absurd vice. A foolish damn dream, an obscure desire. A kindness forgotten until now, when all that's left you is memory. Sleep and death are really very close, okay? Yeah, I think there's a reason that every so often my wife kind of looks over and tries to think if I'm still here, if I'm still breathing. Right? This is called light sleeper. It's classically close to each other. Sleep is often a fly. It lights and moves, flits and flees, an inconstant guest, a sporadic lover, soft moth wings, as still as dark. So close to death, the soul can hear the clods of earth, or the crackling of the furnace, conversations of loss, droning of prayers, the soul alone can hear. Sleep is a blanket against waking, a guarantee of rest, the theater of the mind where nothing is heard, just breathing and the residue of thought. And of course, we need to talk about the medical profession, because our laws, all of our laws actually, are against death, premature death, or any death really. And you go to the hospital, all they want to do is keep you alive, right? My step-grandmother had a DNR. Had a heart attack. They took her to Porter. She was in Middlebury. Took her to Porter Hospital. They revived her. Talk about pissed, okay? Because no one's reading anything. If I get a DNR, I'm going to have it tattooed, right here on my forehead in large letters. Anyway, so that's the thing. I mean, we try to, the medical profession tries to avoid it, death, of course, at great cost, often, when it's really, really time to go. It's entitled Health Scares. Those doctor-involved close calls, family, bedside, travel from distant places, possible final goodbyes. One morning you're sitting on the john, and maybe you wake up on a gurney or in a hospital bed, people peering at you. Maybe you're driving to the store, and then some big sweaty guy is cutting you out of what used to be your car. Yeah, I think about this. I'm of an age. It's only a scare if you wake up, a cautionary tale, a warning to stop or start some vice, a story you can tell for the rest of it until the next. I seem to have missed another sleep one. Let's see. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't have a really great method quite. I mean, I'm going to have to ask you how that works. Death's bluff. Again, we're still talking the medical profession here. For Roberto Iribarnegaray. Your tumor is growing in my head. I feel it progress every time I turn quickly and have to catch myself off balance. Every time I explain away the sharp pain that makes the rounds of my skull as stress or tension or the arthritis living in my neck. Every time I think of your counting into the anesthesia, believing you could come back almost whole, almost the same. I think of all the things that could kill me. Age and its accoutrement, too numerous and boring to list. My money's on the heart. I didn't go to all this trouble for it to be some problem come lately. But I can feel your brain tumor and count the days before I have to surrender myself once more to a cautious oblivion, rolling the dice, cutting the deck, picking the numbers, watching the wheels spin, calling death's bluff. Like I say, I personify death a great deal. And I think we're in the section of the book where I do that. And this is It's Death's Bounty, and it has a epigraph from Wallace Stevens' Sunday Morning, which you may be aware of. Why should she give her bounty to the dead? What is divinity if it can come only in silent shadows and in dreams? The only answer is the one we have. It's one of death's gifts. She's generous, and really the only divinity we're sure of, can touch, however briefly, in a rapidly cooling body. I've seen enough of her work to know it can't be easy. The dead weight of bodies in hospital morgues, funeral homes, the raked dirt of front yards, shallow roadside graves, the displacement of water. Hers is a work of a light switch. Yes, she's that quick. It's dying, not death. Takes a lifetime. I had to read this one. Death at a poetry reading. She gets around. I don't think she's here tonight, but people come in. I don't know. That's Tom, so he's not Death, so it's all right. Death at a poetry reading. Of course, she sits in the back by the door. She enjoys the anonymity, keeps her coat on, oversized bag that says Paris under an Eiffel Tower at her feet. Poets are always going on about her, death, and love, of course, although she seldom sees him at these events. They do collaborate from time to time, abuse and despair. She's listening for an elegy. There's always one of sorts. Loss, a common denominator, a touchstone, as commonplace, as simple as water. What lies poets tell, hiding their relief at not being the subject of the poem and only imagining an ending for it all. They do go on. Long lists of attributes, virtues, innocent foibles that distinguish somewhat the deceased. Dog person, cat person, generous, humorous. Most are real Boy Scouts to hear them tell it. She listens for just a grain of truth. He was afraid to die. He was not afraid as he faced her. She already knows the answer to each. Death at the Library. I also had to read this one. Sorry. Death at the Library. She understands the desperation, that urge at the end to change ways, hold on, promise repentance, become more relevant. She's seen it in the deaths of enterprises and institutions, all too popular to fail. Now, with the digital read, Amazon books to order, Dewey Decimal on its last legs, library cards on cellular phones, card catalogs sold to nostalgia, she trails along the banks of computers, touching each with a finger, and remembers reference books, encyclopedias, dictionaries, the underrated thesaurus. Fondly remembers a time when only books held all the names of death. So, yeah, my sister, who couldn't be here tonight, is the librarian at, what do they call it now? Vermont University? Used to be VTC. The name's, there, Vermont State, there. She's I think, the head librarian there, so.
I tried to bring her, but she was really...
No, we absolved her from having to come. She was absolved. Yes. She wanted to be here just to see what I'd say about her. Of course, sex and death, right? Yeah, obviously. Once again, classic. We have the French who love the whole notion of le petit mort, right? This is called Death in the Back Seat. I first knew death in the back seat of my father's car, an Oldsmobile, as I recall. She was smooth and warm, her skin downy and slick in places. It wasn't love, but I knew I would eventually die of it. Then, of course, we have Since Winter. Since winter, death, at times, plays hard to get. It's like she's indifferent, ice melting in a cold sun. But I know she's had her eye on me for some time, since winter at least. She's not fooling anyone, all coy and blushing. She's a summer squall. She wants it as much as I do. So yeah, it really has been very helpful to me to have this Spanish that I could use and rely on in terms of coming to grips with, you know, dealing with, of course, you know, my own death, right? I mean, everyone else's and my own. Just like Gerard Manley Hopkins and the poem about Margaret, right? You guys know that one? You know, who are you crying? It's you for yourself, you know? You realize your own mortality. This is called Crown of Thorns. Now, I've spent a lot of time, a lot of my career, writing formal verse. I've got, I don't know, 50, 100 sonnets, which are harder to even to sell than free verse, right? But I never did very much with the haiku. I'm not, you know, Ezra Pound. I'm not enamored of the haiku. It's just a question of counting syllables, right? But I did write this. This is a called Crown of Thorns. It's in a crown of haiku, and you'll see the interlacing here. Okay, the same rules as the crown of sonnets, really. Death is that woman, waiting tables at the bar for tips and flirting. For tips and flirting, Girl Scouts cookie every door in the neighborhood. In the neighborhood, your neighbor lady watches your lonely aging. You're lonely, aging, and ready to grasp a welcoming hand. A welcoming hand will finally be offered by someone you know. From someone you know, like that girl in the gift shop, hospitable child. Hospitable child, even a young granddaughter. Death is that woman. So I used to do that a lot. It's been a while. And then, of course, we have what happens with poets and death, right? I mean, I think we have an inside relationship. We know each other pretty well. I think it was Apollinaire that said that death invented poetry, or something like that. It's entitled "Listen." It has a epigraph from Silencios by Alejandra Pizarnik. La muerte siempre al lado, escucho su decir, solo me oigo. Death is always with us. We listen to her throaty whisper. We listen for her chuckle, her knuckle on the table telling us it's time. At my side as I write this, I am at her disposal. All fun and games until someone loses an eye or steps in front of a car. I hear only myself when she asks, "What more do you want?" How are we doing with time? How are you guys doing with time? I'm not the one sitting in these chairs. These chairs don't look awful, but at least they're not metal and folding, and that's very painful. Can be. This was entitled, and again, poets like this sort of thing. Kim Adonisio wrote a book, Jimmy and Rita, which was kind of nice. This is from her poem in that book, Silk, called Dying, and the epigraph is, Rita, you ever think about dying? We live like it's not going to happen. Tomorrow guaranteed, sun rising and all that. Days to waste, nights to sleep. We have so many. So many days pass before we even know how to count. We urge them, want them to go more quickly. The everyday days between this and that to look forward to. We have so many, we have to put them into years, to decades. Otherwise, they're like too much change, too many pennies in a pants pocket. In the way, and almost worthless. We don't even know how many days we've spent. A bank account we're pretty sure has enough in it to cover the next check we write without bouncing. So no, honey, we don't until we do. Every fucking day. This is not the last poem, but this is entitled Last Call. I keep hoping that maybe I'll die in a bar. You know, I mean, if you had to choose a place, if you got to choose a place, and I know I'm going to be in trouble for even thinking about choosing a place, okay? That's not the way it works, but yeah, a bar would work, okay? called Last Call. Not the end of the evening, not closing yet, not good night, no shutting off of lights, no locking of doors, turning people out into the street of a premature streetlight dawn. Just a warning. Buy your next drink now, before you finish the one in your hand. One last quarter in the jukebox, last trip to the toilet, because everything ends. Absolutely everything. Your place at the bar is secure until you finish that drink you just bought. Yep, we have pretzels, popcorn. Take your time. We'll clean up around you. Loose ends, glasses to wash, bar to polish, next of kin, people to notify, loved ones to console. We can call you a cab, but your ride's waiting. This isn't the end, isn't closing, isn't lights out, just the last call. Brings me to the final section of the book, which was very personal for me, right? My daughter's father-in-law died a couple years now. Yeah, 2 years back. Sort of out of the blue. It took him 8 months, but yeah, and that was really hard on, I think, the entire family and me. So Marty's Suite is the last section of the book. This one's entitled "The Evening of Your Death" for Marty. On this, the evening of your death, the dark of your coming dark, I hope this final bit has not been too much. That hope, that expectation of coming back in some functional form, your loved one's desires, that you be as you were, chastened into care and health, only a bit slower, a bit more cautious from the close call. But it was simply the call, no? Just your time, painfully prolonged out of love and disbelief. Death is almost always too soon, rarely too late, but she gets there, doesn't she? With that final caress sealing the deal and making it all, the whole 67 years, worth it. No other way to look at it. A man is almost always more than his end game, his 18th hole, almost always worth waiting for, waiting to see his second or third act, his afterlife. Yeah, speaking of DNRs. DNR. And again, this is me talking to other people, I suppose. How dare you bring me back a ghost, a once was, a painful anecdote, a mistaken memory, a forgotten regret. Those wrenched from the soft hands of death pay a price, in pain, in forgetting, in remembering, in loss. Keep your feeding tubes, your respirators, sponge baths, and monitors. Keep the flowers, magazines, stuffed mouse. Roller coaster of hope, medical mythology, there is no operation for normal or for younger, stronger, more aware. Not dying is not the same as living. Damn your selfish love. Leave me with death and her obscure and gentle mercies. And lastly, from this book, and I'll try to, I don't want to keep you forever here, but I'll try to read a couple from some unpublished manuscripts that I seem to have quite a few of. You imagine somewhere to put the poems. Let's put them all in this group. It's called 8 Months. 8 months ago, you woke up blind as a mole, unable to start your day. They donated your body to an unsure science. The medical 20 questions, the give and take of bedbound, consultations, silence, vending machines, and visiting hours. 8 months you suffered that inane, immaculate gestation. No first word, no first step, hardly a wink, a nod. You raised your arm once in surrender to the machines and insurance waivers feeding on you. 8 months of expectation, high hopes, an untried drug, newish doctors, procedures promising and pernicious. It was a sudden 8 months, that initial surprise, and little else. Had you died on the steps of your townhouse 8 months ago, it might have been kinder. For you, we'll never know. But for your people, the ones remembering you a certain way, kinder. Death is blameless, and so your death was blameless. Not graceful, of course, but you made it to the end. The flight of birds, sunset after glorious sunset, the ocean with its roar and reel, we make beautiful what is function. Hey, so that's that. My wife would love me to end with something more jovial. I don't really do uplifting. My word. But, I mean, this is from Night Sweats, which is maybe it's not, well, I don't know. Uplifting, hard to do. I was going to read one in Buenos Aires, and she said, no, that's too sad. You can't do that one. People will start, cutting themselves. Yeah. Anyway, I think this is from Night Sweats. I can read a couple here. It's called Saturday Nights 2, because there's a Saturday Nights 1. The day is hungover, splitting headache, sun too bright, the damn birds too loud, unsettled stomach, the nausea of growing heat as mid-morning arrives, wanting food, cartoons, and attention. And mid-afternoon won't go down for a nap. The night before overstayed her welcome, too much celebratory imbibing for just another night, sloppy drunk, and the day was already tired from the day before. Night that bitch just had to tie one on, strip down and bathe naked in fountains, moon anyone awake. And I like Night a great deal. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wrote a whole book for her, but she's that way. Some nights really very, very iffy. This one's titled Child of Night. Dark is her daughter. They don't always get along. Mother-daughter issues. Night will never understand what attracts dark to light. Street lights, parking lots, headlights. Like any tramp looking for a buck or a fix. Night despairs. How is she not happy with all the stars? The moon. Must be generational. Cities of electricity drowning out the celestial, and dark sitting on all the curbs watching. And we always seem to get back to death. I don't know. I don't know what it is, really. This was entitled Kiss Goodnight. Between us and death, my friend, the fabric is sheer, transparent, and rent in any number of places. Little more than a fog, a mist, really. We see her if we look, naked flesh and bone, sometimes in a bathroom mirror, sometimes in the shadow our days cast, sometimes at dusk walking into night. A willful blindness will not help, neither will playing the fool at a surprise party. But we pretend every day she is not here with us, serving coffee, kissing us goodnight. Killing days. Not a big fan of days. I don't know, just a personal thing. So easy. Shoot them in the gut, let them bleed out slowly on the couch into night. Smother them early with the pillow you slept on. Hold it firmly over their faces in the early light, late dark, until they stop moving. Go back to sleep. Get them drunk mid-morning, repeatedly. Their lives will give out. If you're good at it, the heart will die slowly in the driveway while the car idles. Drown them in the sink after they've inspected their faces in the bathroom mirror. Bleary-eyed, just when they really want to die. Maybe the easiest way. Throw them out a high window, off a cliff, down an elevator shaft. Spend the time afterwards staring into space, the void, the dark, listening for them to hit. So, all the ways you can kill the days, right? Sunset, the last one from this one, I think. I sit here most evenings. Let me stop and tell you that we spend 5 months in Argentina, and so some of these are done from my gallery in that house. Okay, and some Here in Winooski, we don't have much of a view, so if there's a view, probably it's that. Sunset. I sit here most evenings, wait for the sun to set, release its hot grip on the barrio, as if, unless I'm here, it won't. I know better than to hurry it. I know that it won't make much difference, but the dark embrace of night is slightly cooler, a little dispassionate, as awkward as a schoolgirl beneath the home team bleachers, unsure of what happens next. And we've all been there. Oh, okay, now the fun stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, anyone need to stand up, or if their legs have gone to sleep, or feel, and there are cookies. This was entitled Minor Poet. When I was writing, when I was teaching back in the day, I don't think I could do it now. Teaching poetry, composition, that kind of thing. I would tell my students, well, don't, for God's sake, don't write poems about writing poems. Okay? Just don't do that. It's just lazy. Okay, that's what I told them. And then, of course, now that I'm older, and I sometimes run out of stuff to say, I've written an entire thing on poems about writing poems. It's amazing how that works, I mean, I'm just hoping none of you are former students. Eyesight's not all that great. So the name of the collection is Minor Poet, which I am, a minor poet. I might reach minor before I die, I'm hoping. This one's entitled A Minor Poet. He's complaining again, does little else but look for metaphors for pain and despair, although that search belies all his endeavor. Hopeless, helpless as he thinks he is, he still manages pencil to paper, fingers to keyboard, printer to publisher, all that rack and ruin. If he hadn't his somewhat advanced age to bitch about, his heavy, half-dead heart, his arthritic gripe, his weariness at being weary, what would he have to write? Ah well, he's chosen his subject, grown into it as it were, let him be. A couple of poems. I've been writing poems every day for the last 1,992 days. Yeah, I don't write them every day, but I make sure I have one every day to send to my friend. And he does the same, so between the two of us, I didn't want to think about it. This was beginning of the pandemic, right? The only thing the pandemic was good for. And so a couple of poems. I needed a couple of poems, but I'd already checked the couch cushions, deep in the crevice of back and bottom. I looked in the trash to see if there was something I'd missed, a scrap of sound, a promising word, an image not too soggy to save. Sometimes the wind would deposit refuse at the fence line, leaves, wrappers, idle chit-chat. I sent the dog to dig a hole, as only dogs can do, and checked the dirt for a trace, like something simile to a poem. I even leafed through my hours of sleep. I know I had a thought. Where the fuck did it go? Obviously nothing came of it. Let me see. When you do this, do you realize that sometimes you pick a poem that you're probably not going to read? Say, oh, maybe not. Okay. Poets. Damn poets, taken out of context, anything can be beautiful, wise, memorable. They're just words, damn it. How can they make me count my losses as if each were just yesterday? Mourn those I have no right to mourn, miss my misspent youth, or the first girl I ever kissed, now someone's grandmother. Manipulative pricks, always sharpening themselves between the language and the common senses, like a teenage boy with his pillow, and thoughts of that girl in his social studies class. Oh, I have to read this one. This has, it's a book of poems about writing poetry, okay? When you start using your work as an epigraph. Wait, talk about incestuous, really. This is called Badlands, and I actually started one of the books in Spanish by saying, ser poeta es ser oso bailarín. That to be a poet is to be a dancing bear. And I'm credited here, just in case I forget. I have read poems in public poems. I've read to the small multitudes, the tiniest masses, both washed and unwashed. Dogs in from the street, relatives, debtors, empty folding chairs, old women resting their feet, and those folks with nothing better to do. I've read to the vacant territories, the badlands, the vacuous sea, and stones, so many stones. These have absorbed every word, and at times given one or two back. Empty rooms will listen. Mirrors are deaf mutes, but attentive to every gesture. No tree has ever turned away. Rivers just keep running. And I have. Remember Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Homestead, wasn't it? Yeah, the audio. I was on, I think, at 7 in the morning for half an hour. 2 elderly women resting their legs and a dog. And my wife. Yes, indeed. Okay, this is one. This happens every so often. Called Fresh. Thought that if I went outside and sat in the cold, growing dark of autumn, I might find a poem. Like a leaf fallen, red, yellow, even brown, I'd take. I thought I might startle one coming out from under the flimsy addition tacked on to the house. Nothing but broken screen for basement. All the poems I know are nocturnal. Sometimes simply side street roadkill. Freshly hit, they're still good.
Yeah.
Finally, yes, okay, yeah, I think this is it. One more. I have enjoyed myself a great deal. Thank you all for coming and sitting through this. And when I finish this one, we can do questions. We have cookies. And cider. This entitled poem. If you sit very still, in silence, out of exhaustion or heat, or simply age, sometimes a poem will come up and eat out of your hand, or climb your leg and sit on your knee, cute, inquisitive, tilting its little head as if it were a squirrel, chipmunk, mouse, baby bird, any small, defenseless creature. If you're quick, you can grab it, squeeze its head, and smear it all over the page, over and over until something sticks. Entrails, fur, feathers, fluids. What does stick, we understand as poem. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to. Oftentimes I forget to ask for questions. Yes.
I wonder if you would consider an encore.
And
With John Kaplan, I'm one of the organizers of Poem Town Randolph.
mhm. You've seen some of my work then.
And these are all poems about our town here.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Am I in here? I am in here, right?
Yep.
And you've
They're
marked
all
it
marked.
for me. You're great. Jeez. Ah. All right. Yes. I've always felt like I should, contribute to Hometown. I'm hardly ever here. Normally, it's like summer-ish in Argentina, and we are there in summer. It's Argentina is our Florida, and I would not be caught dead in Florida, but Argentina, I can do that. Oh, right. Geez, thank you. This is amazing. I've not seen these. I've seen the poems. I have not seen the books. Very nice. This one's entitled Hometown. I'm far. Glasses are weird. Dollar store. You can't really depend on them, It is all fear and desire to know each back road blind. I grew there between the Main Street Bridge and downtown. American Legion, railroad tracks, Merchants Row, Red and White, Kimball Public, Chandler Music Hall, Randolph Graded, Belmains, each an incident with characters and sound. Stomping grounds, not even a memory of me changing so slowly no one notices. I want to list them, each name, each moment, each song, each breast and dark cold night. It all comes back, a flood of loss, catalog of regret, good only to fill what is left, winter coat pockets of empty time. I might say something about Randolph, Bethel, Berlin, Barrie, South Royalton. Nothing true. I was a fiction then, a character, hanging around Rexall Drug, the soda fountain, Valley Bowl, driving the outroads, drinking in the 8-track, Mountain Dew and some white liquor, Boone's Farm strawberry, sometimes a girl, bored and escaped. I was someone else. I was many others, drinking my way to old age elsewhere. And I swear, we would get someone's brother to get us a pint of vodka, and we would lace the Mountain Dew, right? If we didn't filch some strawberry Boone's, awful stuff, out of one of the local supermarkets, Marussi's. Remember Marussi's? Oh my word! This was entitled "Town." We're talking years here. Years of poems. And I've not ever put these anywhere but with you guys. I mean, I think last year, after April, when they came down, I posted them online so that people who couldn't make it to Randolph could see them. And I forget which ones those were. But. Town. I have been intimate with your back roads. I've peered down them in the gravel dark. They have looked into me, the alleys and late night convenience store parking lots out of reach of the lights. Intimate is the word I'd choose. Those drunken driveways and lookouts where the undressing of semi-naked stars and the moon were ignored. Yes, intimate. Guess you know what I was doing in high school. Looking for places to hide away, normally with someone else, someone like-minded. Last poem for Randolph Vermont. Hey, I hit it. God, look at that. Look at the draw. I think somewhere there's a next to last poem. Like I say, I mean, last poem, it's sort of strange. But I knew you well, visceral, carnal, a trapped intimacy, neither of us wanting to be the first to leave. I may have even loved you a little. Walking snow on Maine with one young girl, traveling back roads with another, you always had one willing to interest me, lure me. It might have been the promise of eternal youth, or drunk on weekends off from the factory, or fall days, or on Mountain Dew and any liquor someone's big brother could buy. All 8-track adolescent loneliness. Even after breaking up, it was an on again, off again. A long-term relationship mired in memory in the backseat bedrooms of desire and regret. That's cool. Thank you. That's lovely. I had no idea. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, so you know way more about me than you knew before. But yeah, questions. Any questions you have at all will be fine. No?
I'm curious, how much have you read from your poems about death to the general public? Like, have you read them a lot?
Every chance I get.
And you get many people to show up? Or
The first time, well, I don't know. I mean, you guys are great. You got a great crowd. I mean, I don't think people come out very much for poetry, unless you're Galway Canal. Remember Galway? I was at a reading with Galway. I went to school to Galway.
did you? Wow.
Reading with Galway and Montpelier, and he jammed the place. Right? And Galway had this habit of changing his poems, even the ones published. And so he's halfway through the poem about Fergus, one of the poems about Fergus' footsteps or whatever. And he changed the line about baseball players having, big necks or whatever, because he thought it was offensive to people. And so, and he recited, he memorized everything. Right? he got halfway through and he couldn't remember what he'd done.
Oh, gee.
So he asked, does anyone happen to have this book? everyone had one. So he could go and he could read the rest of it. But yeah, Galway was phenomenal. I mean, he had us, I was in grad school, and he had us memorize poems. You know. Not ours, but, you know, why would you bother? Yeah, I do. And remember the first reading I did was Senorita Death? It was pouring rain. There were, 8 people there in the library in Pennsylvania? 8 or 9?
Okay, yes.
I read there, not a dry eye in the house. I swear to God, they're all crying. You know, I'm going, oh my God, we're in trouble now. I normally would try to pre-sell the books, right, for half price or whatever the publisher does. And I remember when it came out, and then, of course, the publisher sends it to the people who pre-bought it. I got this message from this woman who I didn't know on my Facebook message thing. And she said, my mother died Wednesday, and your book came Thursday, just in time. And I go, huh? What? You know, what? It's not supposed to be therapy, I mean, you know, but apparently for her it was, and I was just amazed. So, and then I had to go answer, and I always have a hard time answering those sorts of things, you know. I'm sorry for your loss. It all sounds so extremely empty. Probably could have written a poem, but in terms of responding the way people are supposed to respond, it's hard for me. Normally leave that to my wife. Yeah. She knows how to do that. So yeah, no, I do. Any chance I get, yeah, 3 books now. And these other ones. I mean, death always appears, and yeah, that's it. There are others. I mean, you have the graveyard poets, Keats and Gray, and all those guys. You know, and many people write about death. It's a flood topic. It's one of those things that we all have to somehow confront or ignore until it catches up with us. Right. So, yeah.
Do you do other kinds of writing, or is it do you strictly do?
Oh, let me do the shameless plug now. Is it okay to do the shameless plug? Devin?
Yeah.
Shameless plug? Okay, all right, great. Well, here in the library has a copy of Conversations with Death. If you want to buy your own, you can. You would go to Main Street Rag Bookstore and .com and type in my name, and it'll take you to the page. New this year is Peach, a collection of stories. My first collection of stories, published by Nightmare Press. I think of it as, I think of it as what it is, I suppose, transgressive fiction. Really hard to transgress in today's society. I mean, the president's doing a pretty good job, but the rest of us, it's hard to find some way to revolt anyone. You know? Transgression is hard. It's sometimes called dark speculative fiction, that kind of thing. If you were to read that, I would not read more than a couple stories a day. When I was in college, I read The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Tolstoy. Depressed me for 3 days. This could hurt you. I mean, you know, that's the thing. I had to go over it 6 times in the editing process with my publisher. And so I was reading the entire thing in 4 hours, you know, on the screen. And I'm going, I get out of there, I go, oh my God. You know? So yeah, with that, you know, with that warning, but yes, it's there. It's available from Amazon, unbelievably. So if you type my name into Amazon now, you get that book because my publisher published it with Amazon, which I have mixed feelings. And so do booksellers, because you won't find it very often anywhere else, because they won't do anything published by Amazon. But the question is, of course, if the publisher, if the only way the publisher can do that, it's not me, it's him. So you can get that book at the old Blue Seal feeds. Speaking volumes, new bookstore down the street there. Norbert has some. I just remember it as the old Blue Seal Feeds. I was in there buying horse feed constantly with my father. So,
There's a poem there somewhere.
oh, there is a poem there. Get ready for it, I'm sure. The Blue Seal Feeds poem. God, I am such a whore. I mean, I'll take poems from anywhere, really. Cool. Yeah. So yes, to a long story. Yeah.
Listening to your poems, your work today that you read to us, I get the feeling that you're encouraging people to think about making friends with death.
Absolutely.
And that by all means, death is not seen as a villain at all. And I just find that really intriguing. And all your poems, they're just so thought-provoking, and they're straightforward, and I love how you're writing to express. You're not writing to impress. You are writing to express, and
Thank you.
that's very straightforward, and I appreciate that.
I really think that we, again, as a culture, you don't find that as much in Mexico. We were in Mexico visiting my son last year, and during the Day of the Dead, and there's much more. How would you say? Much less drama. Okay, much less fear. It is indeed a natural process. It's not something that we're going to avoid. No one gets out alive. And nor would I at the Death Cafe that I was at on Saturday. And, the moderator, nice guy, Nick, was talking about these Galapagos turtles that live for 200 years and how the technology, we're humans, and we get the cryogenics and all this stuff. And I said, all I can say to a poor person who lives for 200 years is, that poor bastard. I don't want to live for 200 years. Thank you very much. I don't even want to do 100. I'm cool. I am cool short of that. And in fact, your average American male will die at 73. Tom's going, beat that. Your average American female, 79. Right? And I said that at the cafe, and they couldn't believe it. No, that's not right. Yeah, it is. That's the number. Then they talk about when. And they got that down too. You can Google it. I mean, January is a really good month for death. Works out well. So, all this stuff we understand. Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed that during the last long, the word death is being suppressed, and this ridiculous word pass has come into play.
To pass, yes.
This is American English. I hate it. I'm emotionally hating
Right.
such denial and such a limp word.
It's a euphemism.
I wanted to know if you agreed or what you think
No,
of that,
no.
because I find it exasperating.
We have a long history of really great phrases for that. Kick the bucket, buy the farm, I mean, pass is it's really very limp. I mean, you can't really do that. Die is a decent word. I don't mind that. There are numbers of others. We have euphemisms, to work with everything, really. I mean, and we make new ones. All right. So, calling a spade is really hard for us.
Well, kicking the bucket's got nice.
It does. Kicking the bucket,
But if I could, have one little last task that I could accomplish, it might be to ban the word pass
Oh, yeah.
from use as a
Well,
word
you
for death.
could always ask, pass to what?
Yeah, more or less that.
What are you anticipating here,
I think people are really trying to soften the blow. That's why they use language like that, because we're so all afraid that you might say something that makes somebody cry or makes someone have feelings. And I mean, I don't know why we're afraid of that. You say something but words do matter, and I understand exactly what you're saying.
You kind of referenced it at some point, but have you written your own obituary? You said something about that.
I'm working on it.
So I have just a quick story. We get 7 days, you know what that is, like
Yeah.
a weekly
Yep.
newspaper. So they have obituaries as a section, and I don't know at what age you start reading those, but I'm
Yeah.
obviously at that age, so anyway. But I read this one, I don't know, there was something about it, just whether it was the picture or the first line or whatever, just caught my eye. And it was fantastic, it was funny, it was so unlike most obituaries, which is what I really liked about it. And then, and sort of the way it was written, it was kind of ambiguous about the writer, but by the very end, you realized that it was written by the person who died.
Right, yeah.
And then, so, and I like to write, and I also noticed in, I think it was VT Digger, they do their obituaries online. You can, and you reference this too in one of your poems, like they'll have like a headshot or the picture of someone, and then it will say, it'll have like 3 little blips. It'll say like whatever, loving father. It's all very trite usually, like philanthropist, blah blah blah, like 3 little things. And so then that just like got my brain going, and I started just I think it was like a journal entry is how I started it, but I ended up writing like probably 2 pages of, I sort of gave a little intro, and then I just started writing, what would be like more real, because they're all kind of very flowery, it's like, and they shine a good, I mean, of course people have good sides and bad sides, but it just didn't seem like very real. That was my sense of it. And so I wrote this whole thing where I was like writing my own, like, whatever. Didn't like to do the dishes, my own realistic little blips or whatever. And then my wife and I both did it. And we had real fun doing it, actually. And
Something that's honest,
at the beginning of our obituary.
says something about the person,
That's more real,
yeah. No, I think, absolutely, I think the eulogy is important to do. I've written both. I've written obituaries. I think I did both for my parents, right? Yeah. Because they tapped me for some reason. Oh, Doug, yes, my brothers and sisters, yeah, obituary. Yeah. Do the obituary. Do the eulogy. Okay, all right. The eulogy, we have to stand up and do it. And I remember my father's, I wrote that one, and then my brother had to read it because I couldn't. But I think humor in the face of that. I mean, God, sure. Why would you not? What are we so afraid of?
Go out with a bang, not a whimper.
Exactly. Yes, that is the way.
I always find it interesting too, especially in local newspapers, not necessarily only our local newspaper, but anyone where you're reading the obituary and it's somebody who's had a long, full life, but they've got a picture from when they're 18 years old.
That's right.
Or 28. And you're wondering, well, was there just not a good high-resolution photo around at the time of death? Or is it a statement, don't think about my last days, think about my living. And I thought I was great at 29, so that's what I'm going to have a picture of. And it's just, it says a lot.
Or just the guy picked it himself. I intend to pick mine, Yeah, Tom.
In the merchant marine and seagoing, one of the sayings is cross the bar.
Yep, across the bar.
Cross the fine bar.
Now, who was that? Was that Tennyson? I think Tennyson, crossing the bar. It's been a while. I'm not up on my Tennyson quite now, but yeah.
And then you were talking, well, somebody was talking about how you always want to death scheme. But there are a lot of other poets that just naturally comes. Robert W. Service.
There you go. Service, yeah.
There's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all the graveyard poets, there's a whole bunch of them that mostly just did that, and that was But it's a flood topic. It's really think of what else we can write about that is more important than that. I don't know. Food. There are cookies. Thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it.